My son expressed, "I need you to trust me." What followed transformed everything. You won't believe the events that unfolded that night. As I engaged in my routine of folding laundry and sipping tea, lost in thought, my son Paul approached me, his expression reminiscent of the innocence I hadn't witnessed since his childhood. "Mom," he said, "I need you to trust me." The events that followed profoundly transformed my perception of him, as well as my own self-image. Before we dive into the narrative, may I ask which city you are tuning in from? I would be delighted to learn about your location while you tune in. Let us explore together. The washing machine emitted a steady hum in the background, efficiently extracting the final traces of water from Paul's gin-soaked garments. As I stood barefoot in the kitchen, I meticulously folded towels on the counter, enveloped by the soothing aroma of chamomile tea wafting through the air. The day had stretched on, and the tranquility of the evening seemed like a well-deserved reward. At that moment, he entered the room. My son Paul signifies his current state. He stands tall and lean, his deep brown eyes inherited from his father. His energy that night had an unmistakable quality that set it apart. He paused at the doorway for a moment, observing me as if he were searching for the perfect moment to break the silence. "Mom," he finally said, his voice softer than usual. "May I speak with you about something?" I turned to face him, aware that whatever occupied his thoughts was far from trivial. "Certainly, dear. Is everything all right?" He took a moment before responding. He approached and leaned against the opposite counter, arms crossed over his chest, his gaze shifting down briefly before returning to meet mine. His voice carried a hint of hesitation, yet beneath it lay an unmistakable determination. "Please place your trust in me." Please take a moment to listen before responding. A surge of maternal instinct enveloped me, bringing forth feelings of protectiveness, concern, and curiosity. I acknowledged with a slow nod. "Very well. I am attentive." He gazed at me for a prolonged moment. "You often refer to me as your little boy. However, I am no longer that way, Mom. I am not a child. I require you to perceive me in a new light. We need to have a conversation. Engage in genuine conversation." My heart raced slightly. His words transcended the mere concept of growing up. There existed an additional layer, an unarticulated essence woven within the text. Although I was uncertain about his intentions, I perceived the vulnerability lurking beneath his facade of confidence, and that was impossible to overlook. "Very well," I responded gently. "Let's have a conversation. What are you thinking about?" He moved in slightly, drawing out a chair opposite me at the kitchen table. The light above illuminated his face with a gentle radiance, enhancing the seriousness of his expression. I positioned myself opposite him, clutching a folded towel in my lap, as if it were a protective barrier. "You've spent a considerable amount of time by yourself, Mom," he started. "Since Dad's passing, I've seen you dedicate yourself entirely to me, to this home, to merely getting by. However, you have lost sight of yourself in the process." I was taken aback, astonished by his candor. "Paul, no, please allow me to finish," he said softly. "Your efforts on my behalf have been immeasurable. However, I have outgrown my childhood. I observe details. I observe the weariness that sometimes graces your appearance in the evenings. Such solitude." I averted my gaze for just a moment, grappling with an unexpected tightness in my throat. I was unaware that it was so apparent. "I suppose I underestimated your awareness. I acknowledge it." He extended his hand and made contact with mine, a soft yet deliberate touch, both reassuring and purposeful. I have observed quite a bit. I have been contemplating how I can support you as well. Beyond being your son, I am here as a reliable support, a confidant, and a trustworthy presence in your life. A prolonged silence enveloped the atmosphere. His words resonated in my ears, each one piercing a bit further, yet not in a distressing manner. It felt as though he was uncovering layers I hadn't recognized I was concealing. His earnest gaze made me feel both exposed and truly seen, a sensation I hadn't experienced in years. I don't want you to feel like you're shouldering everything by yourself any longer, he said, his voice now gentler. You have consistently demonstrated strength, yet it's perfectly acceptable to allow yourself moments of vulnerability. I gazed at him, truly gazed at him. The boy who once chased frogs in the backyard or shed tears over scraped knees had vanished without a trace. He had become a man, a young one indeed, yet thoughtful, engaged, and surprisingly mature. I lifted my hand to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, becoming aware that my fingers were trembling just a bit. It's challenging, I remarked, to allow someone to glimpse the aspects of myself that I've kept concealed, even you. I understand, he said, gently squeezing my hand. But perhaps it's time. The kettle behind me emitted a sharp click as it switched off, interrupting the tranquility of the moment. I rose gradually, primarily to gather my thoughts rather than to prepare tea. As I poured hot water over the tea bag, I cast a quick glance over my shoulder at him. Is chamomile suitable for you? I inquired, my voice softer than it had been previously. He offered a smile. Indeed, that is ideal. I carried the mugs over and took my seat once more. The tea enveloped my hands in warmth, yet it paled in comparison to the words that continued to resonate between us. He gazed at me from above the edge of his mug. I have been contemplating something for quite some time, but I hesitated to bring it up for fear of alarming you. A gentle chill enveloped me, not from fear, but from a sense of eager anticipation. Could you please clarify what it is? I wish to present to you a unique form of connection, he articulated deliberately, not merely that of mother and son, but rather two individuals who place their trust in one another, who offer unwavering support to each other. I realize it may come across as unusual, yet I believe you will comprehend. I gazed at him, suspended in a state of bewilderment and an unnamed emotion. His tone was far from disrespectful. It was gentle and deliberate, as if each word had been measured before it left his lips. Could you clarify your statement, Paul? He released a breath. I want to support you in a manner that no one has since our father. I choose to do this, not out of obligation, but from a genuine desire, because you deserve it, and perhaps I find that I need it as well. The words lingered between us, akin to a secret we were both finally recognizing. I was at a loss for words. I was uncertain of the meaning or our destination. Yet I sensed that a profound change had occurred, one that could not be undone. Outside, the wind intensified, caressing the windows as if they were delicate fingertips. Within the confines of the room, silence enveloped us, as comforting and intimate as the steam ascending from our tea. Very well, I finally whispered. Kindly present it to me. I am all ears. In an instant, the dialogue that began with neatly arranged towels and Chimon LT evolved into a profound exchange, one that would forever alter my perception of him and of myself. The following morning, I rose early despite having scarcely slept. Throughout the night, my thoughts whirled endlessly, revisiting Paul's words, his gaze, and the inflection of his voice. What he expressed carried an undeniable authenticity, a vivid presence, yet it felt strikingly foreign. I found it difficult to articulate the emotions I was experiencing, yet I was certain that fear was not a part of it. I perched on the edge of my bed as sunlight started to stream through the delicate curtains. The robe draped effortlessly over my shoulders, and I cinched it tighter, as though to guard against the swirling thoughts that had taken root since the previous night. I had reached the age of 55. I have spent the majority of my adult life as a mother. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I found myself in a position where someone was willing to take care of me, a role I had always assumed as the caretaker, the strong one. Paul had not intended it in the conventional sense. I grasped that much. His words conveyed a profound essence that transcended mere support or gratitude. They possessed a yearning, a desire to be acknowledged and comprehended, reflecting my own feelings more intimately than I was willing to acknowledge. I descended the stairs, enticed by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. He stood in the kitchen, barefoot, with tousled hair that spoke of a restless night, clad in a loose shirt that draped effortlessly from his shoulders. He raised his gaze and offered a gentle smile. "Good morning," he remarked. "Good morning." My voice emerged softer than I anticipated. He presented me with a cup before I had the chance to request one. He recalled my preferences: 2 sugars and a hint of cream. The seemingly minor gesture held greater significance than I was willing to reveal. I quietly sipped my drink, leaning against the counter as I observed him retrieving the eggs and bread from the fridge. He mentioned nonchalantly, "Perhaps we could go out today." "Only we two. You should consider venturing out more often. I occasionally pass by a certain location while driving. It is serene. I believe you would appreciate it." After a moment of hesitation, I gave a nod. "Absolutely. I would appreciate that." He lifted his gaze and met mine for a brief moment, the same intensity reflected in his eyes. "Is that so?" "Indeed, I have complete confidence in you." A subtle change flickered across his expression, a gentle warmth intertwined with appreciation. He gave a single nod before returning to the task of cracking eggs into the pan. Breakfast was a quiet affair, with little conversation exchanged between us. The silence enveloped me, bringing a sense of comfort I hadn't experienced in years. I observed his movements in the kitchen, noting the disheveled appearance he presented. His shoulders have become broader, and his face is more defined. The young boy I nurtured has transformed into a man right before my eyes. I had become so engrossed in life that I failed to truly notice it. Later that afternoon, we ventured beyond the outskirts of town. The windows were slightly ajar, allowing the gentle warmth of the breeze to flow in, while a soft playlist serenaded the atmosphere through the speakers. I rested my head against the seat and allowed myself to unwind. The road, the music, the warmth of his presence, all harmonized into an experience that felt almost otherworldly. Upon our arrival, I was taken aback by the remarkable seclusion of the location. A slender path descended into a concealed grove adjacent to a gently flowing creek. Wildflowers adorned the path, while sunlight streamed through the trees like strands of gold. It seemed to be preserved in a timeless state. We proceeded in quietude until we arrived at the water's edge. He unfurled a blanket from the trunk and settled beside me, maintaining a proximity that was intimate yet respectful. The atmosphere was balmy, the heavens expansive and unbounded. I found it hard to recall the last moment when I felt so distant from everything. "I come here when I need to think," he said softly. "When I seek to experience emotion, remain still." "It is truly beautiful," I remarked. "I appreciate you for bringing me along." He gazed at me then, not merely a fleeting glance, but a deep, meaningful look. "You have always been my everything, Mom, yet you do not allow anyone to fulfill that role for you." I found myself without a response, as he was indeed correct. He inclined his body ever so slightly. "I understand that this is all quite distinct. I am not requesting anything from you. I simply wish for you to recognize my presence. I am no longer a boy. I perceive you as more than merely a mother." His words resonated profoundly within me. I would like to express that I also observed him. I experienced an emotion that eluded my ability to articulate. A gentle bloom unfolding with grace, yet impossible to overlook. All I could do was nod in response. He extended his hand toward mine once more, and I acquiesced. His fingers rested against mine, exuding warmth, strength, and a steady presence. I remained steadfast. We lingered in that moment, observing the creek's gentle flow and the leaves descending like languid feathers. A palpable tension hung in the air, with unasked questions lingering between us, yet neither of us dared to voice them just yet. The moment required no explanations. It simply required to be experienced. Eventually, he turned to me and asked, "Would you allow me to do something?" A little something to express my feelings. I sensed my breath hitch, yet it was not out of fear. In a state of heightened expectation. "What do you mean?" I inquired. He leaned in slightly to gently sweep a strand of hair away from my cheek. His fingers hesitated, and I allowed them to continue. "Is this all there is?" He spoke softly. His touch conveyed a sense of reverence, tinged with shyness, yet brimming with significance. My heart raced, not from surprise, but from the prolonged way he remained closed off. I remained silent. I was not required to. The silence shared between us conveyed all that needed to be expressed. On that day, a change occurred between us. It was not loud. It was not abrupt. Indeed, it was genuine. And this was merely the start. That night, upon returning home, everything felt distinct. Not in an exaggerated cinematic manner, but in the serene stillness that follows the exchange of something significant. After our return, Paul ascended to his room, leaving me in solitude within the living room, where the gentle flicker of the television cast soft hues upon the walls. I wasn't paying close attention, however. My thoughts drifted to that serene grove by the creek, where I could still feel the warmth of his hand enveloping mine. I found myself repeatedly recalling the way he had gazed at me. It transcended mere affection. It was a realization, acknowledgement. He had not overstepped any boundaries, yet he had certainly come close, and not in a reckless manner. With meticulous attention, the care lingered in my thoughts. For countless years, I had remained indifferent to the notion of being noticed. Following the loss of my husband, I entered a state of survival, focusing on raising Paul, handling the bills, ensuring there was food on the table, and keeping his clothes clean and organized. I had not allowed myself to desire anything more than that. However, at this moment, I was being invited softly to experience emotions once more, to unlock a part of myself that I had confined for so long I could scarcely recall the key. It seems I had succumbed to slumber, as the next sensation I experienced was a gentle hand resting on my shoulder. "Hey, Paul's voice murmured, soft and gentle. "You have succumbed to slumber." I opened my eyes, emerging from slumber. The television emitted a soft glow, its volume barely perceptible. "Apologies," I whispered as I propped myself up. "A lengthy day." He gazed down at me, the dim light of the room gently softening his features. "Indeed, I believe it is a commendable choice," I acknowledged with a slow nod. "An excellent choice." He refrained from going upstairs this time. He took a seat beside me on the couch. A pause lingered, one of those extended silences that hold significance, yet remains free of discomfort. "I have been reflecting on your words," I murmured, returning to the creek. He faced me, attentive to my words. "I am uncertain about what this is. Words escape me. However, I am aware of my emotions. It is not incorrect. It may be unexpected, yet it is not incorrect." His expression became gentler, revealing a hint of the emotions he sought to conceal. Expectation. "There's no need for an explanation," he stated. "I have no intention of putting any pressure on you regarding this matter. I want to assure you that I am present and available for you. Whenever you require my assistance," I inhaled deeply. "You express that sentiment, yet I believe you imply something beyond mere support." He did not refute it. I confessed that I had not experienced such closeness with anyone in years, not even acquaintances. "You instill a sense of safety within me, yet simultaneously keep me alert." He extended his hand toward me once more, and this time I embraced it with both of mine. His thumb moved in gentle circles along the back of mine, and the soothing rhythm eased my anxiety. "I understand this is unfamiliar," he remarked, "and intricate, yet often the most significant experiences arise from the most unexpected sources." The gravity of his words enveloped the room. I glanced at him, genuinely perceiving him, not merely as my son, but as an individual. A man who had been nurtured under my guidance indeed, but who now stood alongside me rather than in my shadow. A man who sought nothing beyond what I was prepared to offer. A man who comprehended me in ways that others never even attempted. He adjusted his position ever so slightly, allowing our shoulders to make contact. It was a seemingly minor detail, yet its impact resonated throughout my entire being. I leaned in slightly, and then, almost instinctively, I rested my head softly on his shoulder. He paused for a moment, taking a single breath, then exhaled, leaning back against me in relaxation. "I like this," he said. "Same here." The glow from the television danced across the floor while we remained seated, the only sounds being the soft hum of electricity and the subtle creak of the couch as we shifted closer together. I experienced more than mere comfort. It was a blend of electricity, quiet joy, fear, and release, all intricately tied together in a tight knot deep within my chest. "May I have the pleasure of holding you?" he inquired gently, as if he wished to preserve the enchantment. I refrained from responding immediately. I gently shifted, turning slightly toward him, and allowed his arms to open wide. He enveloped me gently, with intention, neither possessive nor forceful, simply embracing. I nestled against his chest, and for the first time in years, I allowed my defenses to fall away entirely. My fingers softly lingered against his ribs. His chin settled gently atop my head. We remained in that position for what seemed like an eternity. Enveloped in his warmth, I recalled the girl I once was. The woman I once was, before grief shaped me, has resurfaced. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, I no longer identify as a widow, a caretaker, or a woman merely holding herself together out of duty. I experience the essence of womanhood, desired, acknowledged, embraced. The silence enveloped the space, a stillness rich with unspoken words, yet profoundly grasped by all present. He refrained from attempting to kiss me. He made no effort to do anything beyond just being present. His breath synchronized with mine, his hands softly placed along my back. Yet everything had transformed, and I understood deep within that this was not the conclusion of something illicit. It marked the inception of an authentic journey, delicate yet exquisite. The morning sun filtered through the slats of the blinds, creating delicate golden lines that danced across the hardwood floor. I rose before Paul. The living room remained still, serene, and imbued with a profound calm that typically ensues after an emotional transition. I had not rested extensively, yet I did not feel fatigued. My body felt weightless, while my mind buzzed with the events that had transpired. He remained in his room upstairs. The subtle creak of the floorboards overhead reached my ears as he navigated the space above. Cradling a warm mug of coffee, I found solace in the familiar scent that enveloped me. Yet the mere act of sipping it now carried a different significance. It felt as though my world had subtly shifted, just a few inches to the left, rendering everything unfamiliar yet wonderfully intriguing. Last night unearthed something within me, something profound, something that had long been concealed beneath layers of obligation and quietude. In Paul's embrace, I felt no shame. I felt clear and certain. I experienced a profound sense of completeness. After an extended period, I found myself free from the weight of past sorrows. I was not confined to survival mode. I was in attendance. I was unaware of his descent down the stairs until I sensed his presence looming behind me. "Hey," he said, his voice heavy with the remnants of slumber. I shifted slightly, presenting a gentle smile. "Good morning." He approached and rested against the counter next to me. His gaze met mine, eyes slightly brighter than the day before, yet still brimming with a quietly intense emotion. It caused my heart to flutter in the same way it did during my youth, filled with uncertainty. He mentioned that he had been contemplating. I placed the mug on the surface. Concerning what topic? Regarding the events of last night. Who we are. He boldly expressed it. We. He continued, expressing his desire not to create any confusion. I want to respect your boundaries and not push you into anything you're not prepared for. I truly meant every word I expressed. I aspire to be a person you can rely on, a person who truly perceives you. Absolutely. I swallowed. My throat was parched. You are already there. He moved in a fraction nearer. His hand grazed mine softly, as if seeking permission without uttering a single word. I remained steadfast. He confessed that he hadn't slept much. My thoughts lingered on the ease and comfort of our time together, not only in a physical sense, but also on an emotional level. It seems we've been navigating this issue without fully acknowledging it. I inhaled deeply. It evokes a sense of fear, yet not in an unpleasant manner. Indeed, he nodded in agreement. It feels as though one has emerged into brightness after an extended period of shadow. The sentence lingered in my mind. We remained silent for an extended moment, simply standing there together. The atmosphere surrounding us was laden with potential, gentleness, a novel form of intimacy. I am uncertain about what this will turn into, I remarked with caution. I prefer to proceed thoughtfully, ensuring we fully grasp the situation before moving forward. Yet, I am aware of the emotions I experienced in your embrace last night. I refuse to act as though it never occurred. Paul's fingers intertwined with mine. I have no desire to feign anything either. However, there is no need for us to establish a definition at this moment. Let us continue to embrace honesty. With us, together, I acknowledged with a nod, understood. He inclined his body slightly and pressed his lips gently against the crown of my head, soft and leisurely. The gesture was remarkably simple, yet it resonated profoundly within me, a comforting embrace that evokes warmth and security. The remainder of the day unfolded in gentle, serene moments. We proceeded with the customary tasks: grocery shopping, dishwashing, laundry tasks. However, all things possessed a distinct energy. Our conversation took on a gentler tone. Our eyes met with increasing frequency. It was unnecessary to provide any explanation. An unspoken understanding resonated in each glance, each fleeting touch of a hand. That evening, following dinner, we took our seats on the porch. The sun descended gracefully, painting the sky with vibrant streaks of orange and purple. He sat beside me, our knees brushing against each other. The warmth of him permeated the fabric of my jeans. A pause settled over the conversation as I directed my attention towards him. "Have you ever pondered," I inquired, "whether certain connections are simply destined to be distinct?" He gazed at me, his eyes serene. Indeed, at times, embracing the unconventional is precisely what we require. I smiled. I believe I am starting to grasp that concept. The ensuing silence was anything but awkward. It was complete, cozy, similar to the silence that follows a melody, where the feelings remain palpable. The sky deepened into twilight, and we lingered a moment longer, simply inhabiting that newfound space between us. In that moment, they were neither mother nor son. Two individuals who discovered something exceptional, something unexpected, something genuine. There was no necessity for a name. We simply required the experience. As the initial stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I found solace in leaning against him once more, confident that whatever lay ahead, we would confront it side by side, with trust, with gentleness, with a love that boldly embraced its authenticity. It simply was. In that moment, I understood that it was sufficient.